What do you think? You know, like, 30 years since Nomo arrived here.
Yeah.
I was going to Hall of Fame this
That
year.
was the same year I went to Japan.
Yeah.
Nomo came here.
What does this say about just, you know, the impact of Japan ball players in America? And obviously, China's going to Hall of Fame at some point.
Yeah.
And, you know, what is this year?
Yeah. Matsui's.
Yep.
Well, I don't know what it says. As you remember, and Lee remembers, I tried to make a statement. I took a kid that could not make the Yomiuri Giants pitching staff and had him on my staff named Kajiwada. And he won a game in the big leagues. And he pitched okay sometimes, just to try to kind of prove a point that a guy who couldn't make a team there could make a team here, right? To say that it wasn't more of an equal playing field. Now, I don't think that all players in Japan want to play in the States. I mean, why would you want to disrupt your whole world just for more money? I think what Japan will eventually do is change their model and bring up their salaries. They're now building new stadiums for more revenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to keep their players there. And if they keep their players there, eventually there'll be a expansion to Asia with a division of baseball. That's my thought, and it's been my thought for a long time. And because Major League Baseball didn't come up with the thought, I think that they've decided to do it the way they're doing it. And the way they're doing it is the way Major League Baseball did it with the Negro Leagues, that they took their best players, and then they took their other players. And when that happens, the league folds. And I don't want that to happen in Japan, because Japan's baseball is the #1 sport in that country. And to take their professional leagues away from them would be a crime.
Hiroki Sasaki's manager is a guy named Masato Yoshii.
No shit. I was just with him.
Yeah, I was going to ask if he's been in touch with picking your brain about managing. And
Oh yeah, I've been with Yosh since he's come over for years and hung around with me. And yeah, so Masato Yoshii manages against Shinjo.
okay.
Think about that. 2 ex-Mets are managers, 2 ex-players of mine are managers in Japan. And then there's a third player who played for me in Japan named Imae, who managed Rakuten there last year, but then got released because he had a little squabble with one of his pitchers. So,
Apologies if you were asked this already, but what do you think allowed Carlos Mendoza to have the success he did in year one?
I think that he seems like obviously he has great baseball acumen, but I think he's a great person, and I think somebody who can communicate and communicate, not just talk like I do, but communicate with feeling. I think he exudes an aura of being approachable, being not just a good guy, an understanding guy, an intelligent guy, but a guy that is leading the group in the right way. I think he's easy to follow from what I've seen.
Have you been able to build a relationship with him at all?
Very, very little, but what I've built, it's been appreciated. You know, I was on the field in California when the Mets came out, and I just stood on the side, and I was watching the team take batting practice, and he looked over his shoulder and somehow recognized me and came over to me, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
You know, and then we talked, and I got the feel that the players get, and it's the right feel.
Yeah, cool.
Hey Bobby, sorry if you've already answered this, but you played the game, managed, and now you're in this point in your career.
I played? Oh, yeah.
We remember.
I remember that, kind of. Yeah.
From Stanford, Ripple and Cisco, I get it,
Are you a Stanford guy?
I'm a Stanford guy, yeah.
What's your name?
Chris Bello.
Which Bello are you?
Ernie Bello's son.
Ernie.
Yeah.
Is George a relative?
George
Bello?
I believe so,
Yeah, huh?
Ohio State.
Oh,
Yeah.
radical. Okay,
So,
good seeing you. Italian Bello from Stanford. Think about that. Yeah. Go
There's
ahead,
a lot of
what
us,
do you got? Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just saying, what's it, the difference is just from you being a player and being managed, then managing, and then now even, seeing the game, watching these other managers in this point of Major League Baseball.
Well, it's different. It's different managing today, no doubt about that. Because players are different, and the world is different, and the media is different, and as I mentioned earlier, what athletes great athletes do the best is they adjust, okay? And you not only adjust to the pitcher that's pitching that day or the umpires behind the plate, but you adjust to the times that you're playing in. And I think that's what Carlos is able to do, and good managers today are able to do. It might be different than when they played. Definitely different when I played. But the difference doesn't mean bad, it just means different, and you get to adjust.
Bobby, how are you, Bobby?
Hey, bro, how you
Okay,
been?
what
Glad
were
to see you
what
still
were you
here, bro.
thinking the day you put on your disguise?
Wow,
Where is it today?
obviously.
Great, that is a good question.
I wasn't thinking, obviously, and I pleaded temporary insanity, huh?
That was a great day. Always remember.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you so much.
We gotta get Bobby to a panel.
I'm going to panel.
Bobby, real quick, how do you think Saro would have done here, what you know in Major League Baseball?
He would have hit a lot of home runs.
Think he would have hit over 700?
I don't know, probably, I don't know. He was great. He was great. Now, I never really saw him play, but I talked to Sandy Koufax and I talked to Don Drysdale earlier. Sadahara would come to their spring training, huh? The Giants and the Dodgers had spring training camps together, and the Dodgers went over and played exhibition games, and both of them said he was as good a hitter as they ever faced.
Your thoughts on Ricky Henderson, passing on Ricky Henderson?
I'm sorry that he's gone. He was the greatest player I ever had the opportunity to manage. Regretfully, he played with that greatness a little before I got to manage him.
I think it's great for the organization and great for the fans. I mean, what they're doing here is really, working hard to promote the club, and they've done a great job putting their teams together. And I think this is a tremendous event. There's a response from the fan base is off the charts. And it's good to see all the guys. I mean, I haven't seen John Neese in a long time. Rick Reed, Rick Reed pitched for me in AAA in Buffalo, New York for 3 years. I haven't seen Rick in a long time, so it's fun. It's fun for me.
Gentlemen?
What do you think about the job that Carlos Mendoza did last year?
I thought he did a tremendous job. It's your first year. I talked to him one time during the summer, and we were talking about the bullpen, and he said, did you have issues with the bullpen? I said, you got to remember now, my guys went 8 innings. So the bullpens were matchups. You brought a guy in to face one guy. I said, you got to manage 3 and 4 innings a game, and I thought he did an outstanding job. Outstanding. Never changed. Same guy, day 1 to day 180. So.
Were you glad to finally see the DH in both leagues? Why did it take so long for it to happen here?
A lot of people like the old baseball. And they like to see those pitchers hit. I mean, if Bartolo was still playing today, he might not want to hit, but people want to see him hit, I can tell you.
Terry, you mentioned that your pitcher starters went 8 innings. It's funny, I saw Jack Fisher down there back. I'm old enough to remember Jack. And that was common, and yet it seems like only getting pitched only 5 innings. They're getting hurt.
Well, again, I don't have answers for it, or I'd be making a lot more money than I am. But no, it's just it's the game's changing. It's the power game. It's tough to throw, that hard for real long. So, and the bullpens have become so important in every club that they come storming out of that bullpen throwing 100 miles an hour, and so. That's what the game's about now, and you'd like to see it. I would like to see it go back, but it's not going to. So you got to adjust.
But if pitchers are getting hurt and changing speeds always seems to get hitters out more than just raw power because they make adjustments too. Are you sure we're not going to go back, or something? We're going to have to wait for?
Well, I haven't seen anybody do it yet. I mean, you're looking every time I turn around. I see kids, young guys, and all they talk about is the velocity, and so. That's where it's going to be.
That's a ticket to Tommy John surgery for a lot of these kids. We see it with Christian Scott. I mean, I think that would bother me if I'm running a team to see that as an issue.
Well, I don't know how you go about changing it. Because you can't. The players are in charge. I mean, they are who they are, and if they are power guys, they want to be power guys. And to tell a guy who's got a great arm to say, "Oh, hey, you got to back off," he's not who he is. So it's tough.
Your most vivid memories of 2015, which is years ago already, hard to believe, right?
Hard to believe. Yeah, it's. It's great to see some of the guys that were here that that were on that team and talk about it, because it was an unbelievably special year, and I really credit Fred and Jeff and Sandy for, I did that podcast with Sandy this summer and said, why did you think, you said, well, let's go get some help here. And he just said, we thought this team had potential, and so we wanted to try to get it better, and they did. And they did. I had breakfast with Joanna Cespedes a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it for 2 hours.
Wasn't he coming back? Wasn't he saying he wanted to come back?
He does want to try to come back, yeah, he does. And I told him if anybody can do it, he could do it. But
How did he look?
he looks great. He looks great. I told him it's really sad that you got to live with that body your whole life. Waist is this big, shoulders are this big. Really a shame. Feel bad for him.
What was it like kind of taking in last year's team for you from an outside kind of perspective? I know you're involved in TV.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of games when I'm not even doing the TV. I just thought the way they went about things, of course I wasn't on site, but I'd listen and I try to read. I don't know if I've ever been around a team that 26 guys genuinely liked all the guys on the team. And they did things together, and that for me, that's what kept them going through the tough times, is they kept pulling for each other. And obviously you had some guys really step up, and Vientos, and of course Francisco turned into having a tremendous year, and that helps. Your star players got to play good.
Have you spoken to Carlos Beltran since the Hall of Fame vote came out?
I have not. Sickened by it, but I have not.
Did the resiliency they showed last year kind of bring it back to 15 a little bit?
Yeah,
You guys have
no
a
question. We did. I saw the same thing. Yeah, at the end, and we saw it in the playoff when when you get hot, you're hot. And I will tell you, I'm watching the game, the Milwaukee game, and when they walked Lindor, I was with a bunch of guys, and I said, this game's over. I said, the Mets are going to win this game. And that's just because that's all they needed was to get that guy on base. Hey, we're going to get that tying run up there. And sure enough, they won the game.
What do you think about the team adding Juan Soto?
Well, there are great players, and every manager and every team wants them. We got them. So I think it's wonderful for the city and certainly for the Mets and the team. I don't know Juan, but Pat Ressler, who was his hitting coach with the Yankees this year and was with him in Washington, thinks the world of him, and that tells me a lot. So I'm excited to watch him play.
I understand there's a lot of moving parts and a lot going on. I'm so hopeful that the Mets and Pete Alonso can figure out a way to get back together.
I do. I'm a big Pete Alonso fan, and I know he's an important person here. He loves the city loves him. He does a lot off the field here. I just hope they can come to agreement, but just have to wait and see.
With the New York media and New York fans, is there a certain amount of pressure that a manager has when he manages a New York team?
You think? Well, I was having lunch yesterday, and two guys came over and sat down and just started talking about 2015 Mets. And that's New York. That's New York baseball. The fans are into it. They know the players. They love the game. And so this is a place where you got to step up and be accountable. And that's why some of the things that you do here is, hey, look, part of the deal is the media, dealing with media. And I told when I talked to Carlos about it, I said the one thing you're gonna have to learn is, every guy wants 2 minutes, give him the 2 minutes. Figure out how to do it, because that's an important piece of managing in this town.
In the case of Mendy, how much easier does it get from year one to year two? And obviously the expectations have now been set here. How much more difficult does it get?
Well, first of all, I love expectations. I think you create your own expectations. And what he's done is shown that not only do they have a good team, but he's a good manager. So now you just go do your job. And like he did last year, I watched a lot of his press conferences, and again, he was accountable. He stood up, and he talked about things the way I think you should talk about, and that's with honesty, and I think he's going to do a great job. And I know that what he did last year is talked about in the clubhouse. And so the new players come in, the veteran players on this team are going to say, this guy's good. And so that's a big step.
Any thoughts on passing of Ricky Henderson?
Well, I had Ricky, in Anaheim. One of my most favorite people. This guy took the game seriously, and when I had him, he was on base. Like every time he looked up, he was on base. But when the season was over, I had to I wasn't going to play him in the last few games because we had gotten eliminated. I wanted to play some young guys, and he came in my office and he said, "TC, you don't have to worry about me." He said, "I know what's going on," and he said, "I just want to tell you, I really had a great time here." And I'm thinking, this Hall of Fame guy, could have said, "You're taking me out," but he got it. He understood the game, and I was very sad because I didn't know he was sick. But he was a fun person to have on a team.
Thank you, Terry.
Okay, thank you.
Regards to you from Dusty Baker. Said,
Oh, great.
Yeah, say hi. Talk
Yeah,
about
please.
How
Did
you
you?
been?
I've been fine. I've been
He's
fine.
fishing and hunting and stuff.
Well, my golf game's turning to shit.
Hi, my name is Aranci. I want you to subscribe to La Cinco Esquina.